Today I'm going to show you how to take a green loofah gourd and turn it into a nice dry loofah sponge. So typically when you are growing loofahs, you want to allow the gourd to dry on the plant itself. However, the growing season is 120 days for a loofah plant, which means it takes 120 days for the gourd to grow to full size. That doesn't include the actual drying process of the gourd. So for us in Pennsylvania, our growing season really isn't that long, and it's really hard to allow this to dry on the plant. So I ended up with 40 green loofah gourds, and I saw some YouTube videos where people were drying them in their basement, but then they were having problems with mold and other things. And so instead I found a tip on Wild Oak Farms Instagram about putting the loofah into the oven to allow you to easily remove the skin and then dry them. So I tried this out for the past 2 weeks. It works fabulous, and so I wanted to share it with you. So the first thing that we're going to do is put this gourd into the oven and get the skin removed. If we were to try to remove the skin right now, it would be extremely difficult. We would be peeling it off in small little chunks, but after you put it in the oven, it makes it so much easier to peel off the skin and then dry it. The loofah gourds have a sap inside of them that is kind of keeping them from drying. So what you're going to do before you put it in the oven is you're going to cut off both ends. And then I like to cut them down the middle as well. And then once you cut them in half, I would also recommend putting a couple of slits in here to allow any of that sap to kind of seep out of it. I'm just putting a couple, nothing crazy. And then one other thing I want to mention is that once you put these gourds into the oven, the seeds are no longer going to be viable. So if you want to harvest seeds, I recommend doing it at this point in the process. You can go ahead and set some of the seeds aside. I did this already for some of the other gourds that I did earlier. I want to show you what the cross section of the gourd looks like before you let it dry. You can see that this is pretty much completely full in here. There's no really room for air to get in. This gourd is gonna take forever to dry. And this is the skinny side of the gourd. In comparison, this is a dried loofah. You can see there's a lot of room for air to get in. So by removing the skin as the first step, we are cutting down that drying time by probably months. This sponge here has been drying for 2 weeks. During this video, I'm gonna get the seeds out of it, and I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do that. But it's just crazy because if I would have let it dry with the skin on, I probably would have been waiting another 2 months. Once you're done prepping your loofahs, go ahead and put them on a baking sheet. Set your oven to about 300 degrees. It could be even 350 if you wanted. And go ahead and put those loofahs in there for about 30 to 40 minutes. When your loofahs come out of the oven, they are going to be this dark green color. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to continue one of the slits that you cut earlier and kind of cut it the whole way through. You might have to apply a decent amount of pressure to get the whole way through the skin. You'll see in a minute here, as I start to peel this, how thick this skin is. So if you can imagine, if I let this dry, like I said earlier, this would have taken forever to dry in the basement. So this is just so easy to pull off. And one thing I want to note is that you need to let your loofah gourd cool after it gets out of the oven before you start doing this. All of that heat is trapped inside that skin, and you could easily burn yourself, so you want to be careful. But you can see I'm able to pull this off in one piece. I'm not sure if you can tell from this camera, but these are slightly green on the outside. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse them under water. I'm gonna squeeze them out and try to get some of that sap out. Now, the skin itself, I will throw into the compost for us. I have seen that some people make baskets and things out of the skin because it is so fibrous. I'm not sure if you're able to do that after you've baked it in the oven, but that would be really, really cool if you could do that. At this point, these are ready to dry, and the only thing that's left after they dry is to get the seeds out of them. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But what I recommend for drying them is that you don't lay them on their sides, and that you set them in a way that there can be maximum airflow. So I'm gonna actually put these outside today. It's like 50 degrees outside and sunny. So I'm gonna put these outside today. I think tomorrow it's supposed to be sunny, and maybe even the next day. I'll bring them in at night because we're getting temps into the 30s. But that will just kind of help them dry out quicker, and then there's some airflow. What I've been doing when I've been drying them inside is I took our little recycling container, which is just one of these crates, and I put them in here and I leaned them up against the side. Now, when I did this though, I always made sure to come and check and flip them, because I did notice that if you leave them with this side touching the bottom for too long, they do start to get a little bit gross and moldy down there. Once the loofah sponge has been drying for 2 weeks, it should be dry enough that you can easily get the seeds out of it. So I'm going to show you the difference between these two sponges I have here. This one has only been drying for a week, and this one 2 weeks, and you can hear that the seeds are super, super loose and they're falling out of this one. But when I shake this, you can't hear anything. And it looks like the chickens might help me out here, and they might eat my seeds. I think the one little girl just ate one. So yeah, now at this point, since this is pretty dry and they're already really loose in there, I'm just gonna kind of do this and shake them. And I have a whole flock of chickens beneath me right now. They're eating all of the seeds, so hey, that works for me. I'll also do a little bit of this squeezing motion too. So squeeze and kind of shake it out. As I was shaking this to get the seeds out, I realized it was getting pretty hard to get the seeds out that were in the middle here. So what I've been doing is I took this butter knife and I kind of just put it in one of the holes and twisted it a little bit, and it definitely made it a little bit easier to kind of get some of those ones out that are pretty far in there. I've been working at this for about another 5 to 10 minutes trying to get these seeds out, and there's definitely still some in there, but I'm going to be cutting these into smaller pieces anyways, so it will be easier to get them out once they are in smaller chunks. So I hope that you found this video to be helpful. This is definitely the easiest method I've seen so far, so I hope that it works out for you as well. If you have ideas of what to do with all of these loofahs, let me know. I might actually end up selling some of them, so maybe keep an eye out for a link. But yeah, if you are one of my family members, you will probably be getting a loofah for Christmas. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and found it to be helpful. Feel free to share it with a friend who might also find it to be useful. And make sure to subscribe to our channel for more gardening content and more content on sustainability and homesteading. See you next time.